You want to get on the action? We want to hear from you. Hit us up, faderoutemail@gmail.com. Slide in our DMs on IG @FadeRoutePodcast. Drop us a DM on Twitter @FadeRouteDNZ. Comment on our YouTube channel, The Fade Route with DNZ. Questions, comments, picks, segment suggestions, you name it, we want to hear from you. Get at us, in crowd. Welcome to The Fade Route with D and Z. Here are your hosts, D and Z. Welcome everybody to this week's episode of The Fade Route with D and Z, and I am Z, and it was a crazy one this past week, and we capped off week 2, began week 3 with the biting question, the one that we all wanted to know. In a battle of Fitzmagic versus Minshew Mania, who would come out on top? And here he is. I've known this guy since our days on Carousel Shoes, the last QB in St. John's history. Flight crew through and through. What's up, D? How's it going?
What's going on, man?
Nothing much. I mean, that game last night was nothing impressive at all. The Jaguars.
The stash versus the beard.
Yes. It was like a Bogart Conor McGregor versus Kenny Powers. And it turns out Conor McGregor won.
What do you prefer, the stash or the beard?
If I have to choose between these two, I'm gonna go with the beard, but barely. And you know what? Fitzy's wife doesn't even like the beard, so now he's just doing it to troll people.
You know what? It's weird. It's like I was looking up like stats for this game, so I was putting in like Fitzpatrick, and when you do it in Google, the first thing it says is like, oh, Ryan Fitzpatrick stats, and then the next Google search is Ryan Fitzpatrick's wife. Why is that? Why is that the next search for players, like their stats and then what their wife looks like? What's that about?
Well, I mean, let's be honest here. Ryan Fitzpatrick's wife is, but that's neither here nor there. But when you have a career like Ryan Fitzpatrick's, you kind of, you're going to find other things to talk about. But, I mean...
Was this a matchup of Ryan Fitzpatrick at 38-39 against Ryan Fitzpatrick of like 24-25? Is this where Gardner Minshew is headed in the next 10 to 15 years?
If that's the case, then Gardner Minshew is going to have a pretty good career, because Fitzy has been able to hang on and, he produced, when he was with the Rams, when he played with the Jets, he's up and down, but he has flashes of brilliance. And if Gardner Minshew can do that, and if he can sustain that and still be a starter, that's pretty good. If I'm Gardner Minshew, I might light up a Newport and take that.
So Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's played
yes.
for the Jets, he's played for the Dolphins, yes. And will he ever be a Patriot?
I don't know if Bill will ever be desperate enough to take Ryan Fitzpatrick, but I mean,
he played for Buffalo. He's played for every AFC East team, except for the Patriots. Will he ever be a Patriot?
I think he could. Let's put it this way: Cam's on a 1-year deal, right? If they re-sign Cam and they bring in Fitzpatrick to back him up, he's better than Brian Hoyer. That goes without saying. If Stidham can beat him out for it, then all power to him. But Fitz could do it. Why not? If it's a dream of his, live your dream, man. Live your dream. Like
Fitzpatrick is Brett Favre without a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah, without a Super Bowl ring and a Harvard education.
He doesn't have. Let's be real. He's got a Harvard education, and he doesn't have all the numbers, but he brings a love and excitement for the game. He's just a football lifer.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I feel like he could definitely like Kurt Warner it. I think he used well in like the first half of the year, and then once the tape's out on him, or maybe it's just he hits halfway through the season and it starts going to crap. So he starts out with like 200, 250, 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, an interception, and then it's like a buck 67, yards in passing, 1 interception or 2 interceptions. It never really
consistency has
well,
never been Fitzy's game. That's 100% true. Another thing that kind of worried me as I'm watching that, and hopefully it worried Chan Gailey and Brian Flores too, as he's scrambling, there is zero ball control there. If they catch him, they can smack the ball out of his hand easily. Tom Coughlin had a heart attack looking at that ball security. Tiki Barber was like, damn, you are loose with the ball.
He won't die.
He's scrambling like he was gonna die. Like that.
He won't die. Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised he's still in the league, but he
does.
He keeps it interesting. I really thought the Jaguars going to play better. I was surprised Gardner Minshew's line last night. It's pretty ugly. He had 275 yards passing, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, 30 for 42. I just thought that the absence of Chark hurt him more than I didn't realize the absence of Chark would be, so effective. James Robinson's proved to be a baller. It looks like, them losing Leonard Fournette wasn't that big of a deal. I mean, he ran for 2 touchdowns. He had 11 carries. He was averaging like 4 yards a carry. That's huge. And then he was even in the receiving game. He had like 6 receptions and 83 yards.
I mean, last week was a little bit of his coming out party, but this week he really established himself, and definitely he's a deep fantasy pickup right now. I mean, he's a good bye-week cover, at least right now. I mean, you got to see what he becomes, especially as, like you said, they get tape on him and they kind of see what Jacksonville is doing. If they start stacking the box, he could end up having, he could just be a flash in the pan. But the good thing about that is that he is establishing himself in the receiving game, like you mentioned. But speaking of the receiving game, who is Minshew throwing to? I mean, O'Shaughnessy is his tight end. D.D. Westbrook, I saw him returning kicks yesterday. I wasn't really paying.
I actually really like the guy they drafted, is Laviska Shenault Jr. I think he has a lot of like Chark, Cole look to him. I really think he can prove to be a really good third or maybe even a second receiver down the line. He really spread the ball around. I mean, I think it looks like everybody got to touch the ball a little bit, but I thought they would have played. I really thought they would have played better, especially interstate rival. Jags, were battling people the last 2 weeks, and they weren't giving anything up. They played the Colts really tough, and I thought they were going to come into this week and just perform a little better.
Short week, it definitely happens, but I mean, both teams didn't really come out smelling great after this game. Like
no, well, there's no real future here.
Yeah, there's no real winner. The fortunately for them, there wasn't a way to somehow get Tampa Bay in there and have like a triple threat NFL game, because Tampa Bay would have wiped the floor with either one of these guys and show that they are the true kings of Florida.
And how about all the injuries this weekend?
God.
Man, we had both Bosa go down, Mostert, Barkley, Thomas, CMC,
Anthony Barr,
Drew Lock, Sutton, Anthony Barr. I forgot about that one. Jimmy G got hurt too. Out of all the injuries this week, which one do you think is going to hurt the most long term for the season?
Well, I mean, that injury probably tanked the Giants season. The injury to Barkley, like it really not that
I think the Giants season tanked when they hired their coach.
but that's the thing, like when you're so run heavy as the Giants can be sometimes, just to get him established in the offense. I mean, I like Deion Lewis a lot. I thought that was a great pickup. He's a good speed back out of the backfield. Wayne Gallman's going to get some touches. Devontae Freeman, I don't know what he is, but I will. We'll see. But what we really need to focus on here is, I mean, what is going on with the turf in MetLife Stadium? Because 5 49ers went down, and they're going back there this week.
They lost 5 guys, and they have to play another game there this weekend. But I heard the NFL sent a crew out there to check on the turf, and they didn't find any problems with it. Now, I've heard about sticky turf in the past, but for you to lose 5 guys in one, really in 2 to 3 quarters, that's ridiculous. I think Bosa and Thomas went down on back-to-back plays.
It was crazy what was going on. And to make matters worse for the Niners, not that this is a pity party for the San Francisco 49ers, you got to play next man up. That's just the way it is. They had to fly back cross-country to play in the same stadium where they just lost 5 guys. That is...
Did they? I wasn't sure if they were going to stay East Coast, or I guess they're probably not allowed.
I think they were mandated that they had to go back. That is just going to jack up your time clock. It's insane.
Oh, I think they lost Richard Sherman last week, 2 weeks ago. I'm kind of agreeing with you. I really believe that the losses the San Francisco 49ers suffered this weekend, I think that pretty much ended their season. I don't think you losing Thomas and Bosa defensively, now you're gone. And then you have Jimmy G, who's not going to play this weekend, and your number one running back Mostert went down. I think they lost. They did.
They lost the number 2, Tevin Coleman. So they're down. I think Jerick McKinnon.
Coleman went down, and then the division they're playing in, they're playing with the Rams, the Cardinals, and the Seahawks. It's gonna be hard to play with those boys when you lost all these guys this past weekend.
I mean, pour one out for the San Francisco 49ers. They're done. I mean, I think Nick Mullins is a good backup. He's gonna give the Giants a run for their money this weekend. It's the Giants. They just lost Barkley, so it's gonna be a shootout.
He's serviceable.
He's good.
Serviceable. He can play. I mean, he can play. I mean, he could play. Yeah, I've seen him play a couple of games before, but he's not going to be able to compete with Russ or with Goff and Murray. So you can just stick a knife in the 49ers and they're done. But I want to go back to Saquon Barkley, because now I'm starting to think, are the Giants ruining Saquon Barkley? Because you think about his rookie year, stud, awesome season. He got hurt last year, right? Now he gets hurt again. And it's just are they missing out on some of the best years of this guy on a rookie deal?
Well, I mean, it goes without saying that you're gonna, if you don't improve the offensive line, and this offensive line is drastically better than the one where he had the phenomenal rookie season. So he's definitely working with an improved offensive line, and he can't get out of the backfield. So I think a lot of that is that they have tape on him now.
So you think the injuries are more about who he's got blocking for him and not necessarily him or his.
It's a combination of a bunch of things. It's definitely, once you start getting injured, you start to kind of develop the injury bug. And Saquon Barkley had a relatively healthy college career coming into the NFL. He had a great rookie year. Came out of it relatively unscathed, maybe some minor bumps and bruises. And then as far as I know, last year was the first real serious injury that he's ever had to face. And now he's starting, I don't want to say he's breaking down. I'm not going to be doom and gloom, the sky is falling. But, once you start doing stuff like that, the little bumps and bruises and nicks, and it adds up, and the wear and tear starts to add up on you. And you know what? I was already starting to think he wasn't an every down back anyway. I was starting to come around to Tiki Barber's opinion just from watching his performance.
I just thought about that while after I saw the injury, and I felt bad for the guy because I know he's a good guy, he's a really good player, but I just started to think that maybe the Giants are ruining him, and not that we've seen the best of him, but he's gonna have to now come back from this injury. And yeah, we've come very far in rehabbing knee injuries, but I'm just not sure next year will be his bounce back year. I think it's going to take him 2 years to really get back in the fold. But maybe this is good.
Yeah.
Maybe this is good for Danny. He can
Yeah,
develop a little bit more.
Absolutely. Get that chemistry going with Slayton, build it with Ingram, maybe, get Wayne Gallman. Wayne Gallman actually is a pretty talented running back. He's got some, it's got durability issues just because he's on the smaller side. But I mean, there's the opportunity. The door has been kicked open. So you know what? If you want this job, you got to take it. Either Dion Lewis, Devontae Freeman, or Gallman. It's wide open. Take it if you want it.
If you had to compare Wayne Gallman to another running back in the league, who would it be?
That's tough, actually. I mean, he's fast. He's not really a scat back because he is bigger than he's bigger than
He went to Clemson, right? He's a Clemson
grad,
guy, right?
Yeah. As far as it's hard to give a player comp for him just because you really don't see that much of him, and when you do, it's really he's more of a change of pace back, probably like a Dion Lewis. He's gonna be that guy.
He's not really. He's like 6. He might be 6 feet, maybe even a little under 6 feet.
I mean,
he had a good. He had a good college career.
He had a pretty good college career, but clearly this organization sees him in a certain way, and sometimes, like we've seen with Dave Gettleman, if he sees you in a certain way, you're really not gonna get you're not gonna get a fair shake, or you're really not going to step out of that frame, that box that he puts you in. But
right,
yeah, but I mean,
and then so many years, for so many years, the Giants were kind of like the staple of the New York football team, and now they're kind of looking like the Jets. And good Lord, was that Jet game just brutal?
That Jet game was
brutal. Frank Gore is the running back for the New York Jets, and I don't know who's worse. I don't know if Adam Gase or Sam Darnold's worse. I can't tell anymore. I really feel like destroying this kid.
Honestly,
I don't.
You've also heard during the week several Jets players, mostly on the defensive side of the ball. So take that for what it's worth. They're listless in practice. They haven't put together a good practice yet. If you listen to the Jets players, and that
I heard that.
Yeah, that falls on the coach, man.
The new safety that they got from Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, well, he would know because he's coming from Pete Carroll to Adam Gase. It's like going from Gordon Ramsay to a guy serving burnt steak. It's completely.
How do they get better though?
Yeah.
Where do the Jets go from here? Okay, they have their franchise quarterback, right? Or supposedly,
so they think.
They go out and get the coach they feel can develop him and that they believe that can make him better, right? You go out and you get one of the best tackles in the draft. I think the new kid that they drafted is really one of the best linemen they could get in the draft. So now, where do you go from here? Do you keep Gase? Do you fire Gase? Do you start building on the defense? Do you bring in a wide receiver? Do you bring in a running back? They let Robbie Anderson go. I think Robbie Anderson is top 5 or top 6 in the league in receiving yards right now.
Well, it's a complicated issue because Gase got hired first and then recommended Joe Douglas. So it's like, are you really gonna fire your boy? It's gonna be like, hey man, I know you recommended me for this job, but you got to get the hell out of here. Like you're making me look bad. You're making yourself look bad. You're making everybody look bad.
You don't got to go home, but you got to get the heck up on out of here.
Yeah. I mean, I changed your code right now. You can't get in the building. So pack your stuff and get the hell out.
Hey, Joe, my code's not working. I can't seem to get through the
Don't
gate.
say. But Gase is a lost cause.
Who is this?
Who is this?
Yeah, I don't know where they go from here. There's so much work that needs to be done. It's not an overnight process. It's not a 3-year process. It's not a 4-year process. I just don't know. And I can look at almost every team in the league and say, okay, you're 2 to 3 players away. You just need a little bit more development here.
Yeah.
With the New York Jets, I really don't know what the next step is.
I mean, they're 2 to 3 players away from being 2 to 3 players away.
Because defensively, before this season, defensively, they had a decent defense. Mm-hmm. They had a top 6, top 10 defense. Now, I can't even name, outside of McDougal, I can't really name another guy on the defense that I'm scared of, that I got to plan for. At least you had a plan for Adams. When you come to the line of scrimmage, figure out where he is. Let's see if he's in the box. Let's see if he's backpedaling. We had a scheme for him. Now it's like you come to the line of scrimmage, and like, all right, where do we want to gain 5 yards? Do we want to just run it up the gut? We want to run a quick slant? And then on the offense, you got to get more playmakers. The guys that cost the most money on the team aren't even playing. Like C.J. Mosley on defense, he's not playing. Le'Veon Bell is the running back. He's not playing. So it's like you have all this money, and I love Joe Douglas. I think he's really good at evaluating talent. But it's like, where do we go from here? How do you team on the field?
Well, it really looks like they're punting this year, and they have a lot of cap space next year. Like, they have a lot of capital that they can use.
And they have draft picks.
They have draft picks. Yeah. Too. But in this climate right now, those draft picks are like, I don't want to say they're worthless, but they are certainly going to be a lot less solid than if we had a full college football season, had a full talent evaluation of these guys. Like, we know
you really don't know. You really don't know what you're
basically everybody from the SEC is getting taken in the first round. Like, that's what these are the guys that you're not going to take, the guys like a Josh Allen from Wyoming or Carson Wentz from North Dakota State. The diamonds in the rough aren't going to be taken because, for one, they don't have tape on them. And number two, they may not even have a season. But that's where, Joe Douglas, like, he's done a good job so far. He got the best he could get for Jamal Adams. And, like, I have more faith in him than I do in Adam Gase. And honestly, Sam Darnold, I really don't know, just because, I mean, is this the game plan? Like, is this really the game plan? Just maybe give him a game, say, here, Sam, cut loose, cook like Russell Wilson. Just go out there and ball. Like,
right. It's like, listen, it's early to do projections, right? But let's say the Jets have a top 5 pick. Okay, you get a top 5 pick, and in that top 5, you're looped in with like the Miami Dolphins. You're looped in with the Jacksonville Jaguars. You looped in with, let's say, the Denver Broncos, because they lost a lot of key players this weekend too.
Yeah.
You looped in with the Cincinnati Bengals. Okay. Philly's looking pretty bad right now. The Lions and the Vikings are looking pretty bad. Let's say you're in there with those teams. All those teams have quarterbacks or have a backup that's going to be their future. So if you're sitting there at 2, 3, 4, let's say worst case scenario 1, are you going to take Trevor Lawrence? Are you going to try to start over?
If I'm Joe Douglas,
are you going to look to trade Darnold, and maybe are you going to look to maybe trade Trevor Lawrence? I'm sure the Saints would pay a lot to move up in the draft to get Trevor Lawrence. I'm sure Sean Payton would love to do
Hmm.
that.
I don't know. If I'm Joe Douglas, I mean, I would definitely play close to the vest. I would take all phone calls possible because you know who else could be looking for a quarterback next year? The Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
sure.
yeah.
Not yeah,
Well,
absolutely. And maybe even Detroit. Maybe they're like, okay, you know, we're clearly not going to win with Stafford. We tried everything. You know, this guy's been around since he was throwing to Megatron, and now he's throwing to Marvin Jones and Kenny
right.
Galladay. I think it's time to call it a
Or Matthew
day.
Stafford.
Falcons can
Yeah.
think the same way too. It's like, listen, we've had Matty Ice for a long time, good player. We've got some of the best receivers in the league, and we had one of the best tight ends in the league. Just not going to happen.
I mean, you're
At what point?
you also like, you know, Phillip Rivers in Indianapolis. Clearly, they don't believe in Jacoby Brissett, or they think he's a year away. Like, would the Colts pull a trigger like that and bring in a Trevor Lawrence with a team that's pretty ready made?
Yeah, I mean, you have to. If you look at their offensive line, I'm actually looking forward to the game this weekend. I know we're probably going to talk about our picks later, but you've got a stud offensive line. They have some young receiver talent. They have some young running backs. The Colts are definitely on the ascension. I'm just not sure if they'd be willing to. I don't think they're going to finish that bad to be in a situation or position to take Trevor. But they definitely. I don't think they looked at Brissett as like a Band-Aid. They looked at him as like, okay, yeah, he can play for us until we figure out, what we're gonna do. And they figured Phillip Rivers was a serviceable guy who was hungry still and just needed a change of scenery and could possibly get them, to a Super Bowl. Kind of same thing the Denver Broncos did with Peyton Manning back.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And, it's a huge middle finger to Andrew Luck for, I get you want to be able to play with your kids and all that stuff. But, the GM of that team is just like, come on, man, really? Like, we built this for you.
Yeah.
We built this whole thing for you.
He got burnt bad.
Yeah.
He got burnt bad. And I'm with Andrew on like wanting to be able to walk correctly.
Oh, I don't begrudge him that. Absolutely.
I don't begrudge him, but at the same time, don't get upset for people booing you.
Yeah.
I mean, they thought you were the guy, and you really were. You had all the talent in the world, and you kind of just walking away without any real notice. It might saying like, okay, this will be my last year. Like people getting ready. I'm out. Yeah. I'm out. I don't think he'll ever go back.
I don't think he could. I mean, that's pretty bad. It's like John Elway in Baltimore. Like he could probably never show his face there. But a lot. I mean, back to all the injuries and things like that. I mean, who knows what's going to happen as we go into week 3? But certainly the weirdest injury of the week was Tyrod Taylor opening up the door for Justin Herbert before the game, having chest pains. And as it turns out, it's because he got a pain injection from the team doctor who punctured his lung.
Hey, Doc, I don't feel right. That injection made me feel worse.
It's like,
what do you mean you're feeling worse? I'm like, I can't breathe. I think I need to go to the. Yeah, that's how worse I feel.
Right. Where did he get his doctorate? The University of Phoenix? Like, what is going on here?
Guadalajara, Mexico.
Yeah,
Guadalajara, Mexico. I feel so bad. I feel so bad for Tyrod Taylor because he's a guy that really, he doesn't have all the talent in the world, but he has a lot of heart. And it seems like everywhere he goes, he plays well. And either he gets screwed from the coaching staff, or he gets hurt, or people just don't want to win as much as he did. I mean, that's where the way I felt it was in Cleveland. I just didn't think the coaches knew how to handle his skill set. And he's a guy. He's got a ring. He won a Super Bowl ring with the Baltimore Ravens, and he totally knew the situation he was coming into. Where you guys drafted your future. I get it. I just want to play here and I want to win. I love the game of football, and it's like, Doc, my ribs are hurting me from the last game. what can we do? He's like, oh, I could give you a pain shot and puncture your lungs so you don't get to play for the rest of the year.
Right.
Sounds great. Let's do it.
Yeah. Conspiracy theorists are saying that, they did that intentionally to get Herbert into the lineup faster. But
they didn't have to do that, though. I mean,
Tyrod Taylor, give him enough time and Herbert would have been in the game anyway. But, on 10 seconds notice, he played pretty well.
Kid's got a solid arm. I mean, that was never the question. It's just the question for him is sustainability. Yeah. He's never taken up until last week. He never really took a snap from the center. He was always in the shotgun.
Yeah,
it's a different world.
No, Pac-10.
He was missing guys. He was making a lot of rookie throws. I'd be curious to see how he plays this week. And see if he can get some of those jitters out and see if he can play a little better. They have some decent talent on the team. They're not world beaters, but
the cupboard isn't
really
there. But it's a heck of a way to start your career. 10 seconds notice. Oh, by the way, you're going up against the Chiefs.
Yeah, and they were winning.
And
they were winning.
They were winning.
Going into the fourth quarter. They had it, and it took 3 field goals from Bucker to beat them.
Yeah.
So he had them in position. So yeah.
I'm getting hungry over here. Should have cooked up some dinner. And if you're looking for a new cooking show to binge, check out As You Eat It on YouTube, hosted by me, Chef Z. I invite you into my home and show you what and how I cook when I'm off the clock as a chef instructor. You're going to learn fun recipes and creative methods to empower and inspire you in the kitchen and take it to the next level. Cook how you want to cook, eat how you want to eat as you eat it. That's As You Eat It, available only on YouTube. AZ, you eat it. Check it out and let's get cooking.
Yeah. Well, let's switch gears a little bit. There's a big with Billy Donovan going to the Bulls. I thought Billy's a winner. Billy's a winner. And I was disappointed that the Knicks didn't get him. And I thought he would have been a really good coach for the Hawks. But let's be straight. The Bulls have talent. And he lost Paul George, Russell Westbrook, and Kevin Durant, and still got the Oklahoma City Thunder to the playoffs with a bunch of young guys. He definitely knows how to coach. He was a winner when he was in Florida. He will need to develop Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine is arguably the best player on the Bulls. And he's going to make Kobe White a better player. I think the future is bright for them.
I was very surprised. As we talked about it, that I really could have seen Billy Donovan going to the Pelicans and really taking off with Zion Williamson. So it was definitely surprising to me to hear that he was going to the Bulls. It definitely, it makes you wonder how much control he's getting. And maybe that's a definite issue with him. Just because, a coach of that caliber and a team with a star like Zion, you feel that would be appealing to him. But,
right. You almost wonder, if he doesn't want to coach Zion. He's, not interested in player.
Because that's definitely a microscope. That's definitely a crucible that, he may not want. And honestly, now that he's off the board, Kenny Atkinson would be a perfect fit for them. He's a teacher at the end of the day, just like Billy Donovan is a teacher, more so than, a massager of egos. But it's definitely a shrewd move on the part of the Bulls. They have Lauri Markkanen. If he can stay healthy, they'll be good. Kobe White, he definitely has some flashes. I can see them bringing in a veteran point guard to kind of sturdy the ship a little bit until he can kind of take that next step.
Not only that, but the Rockets job was open.
Yeah,
too.
The Rockets job is open. Well, that one looks like a cluster. Let's be real here. That's going to take a Pat Riley level, that next level of coach. Because it's like coaching the Yankees. You're going to have all those guys, and it's gonna be a lot of massaging egos. And, Russ and James Harden, they played nice, but now this is year 2. Are they going to keep playing nice? And
you got to imagine Daryl Morey had to have reached out to Billy Donovan. I find it hard to believe that he wouldn't even try to have the conversation with him.
I mean, if he was any kind of GM doing his due diligence, he definitely would check in on Billy Donovan for sure.
I think kind of just sets up D'Antoni to go to Atlanta, which I think will work out well for Trae Young and
yeah. I mean, they play young. They're young. They're fast. He likes fast. I mean, 7 seconds or less. He made that popular in Phoenix, and he did get to a conference final with the team playing that style. So, I mean, I could definitely see that. Something else that just came to mind, I mean, it may never happen. It's pie in the sky type thing, but they've been trying to get Coach K into the NBA forever. Would this be the straw that finally broke his back on that? Like with John Gruden. John Gruden was out forever, and then all of a sudden, I'll go back to the Raiders. Like, would that be would the Pelicans' job or the Rockets' job be so intriguing that he just like, I have to do
it? Yeah, I could see the Rockets' job being that way, but Coach K has so much to lose at this point by going to the NBA. I don't think it's in the cards for him anymore.
Yeah.
Because especially with what you saw what happened to Patino, and you saw what happened to Calipari. Brad Stevens is having a struggle, and his team he's got a ton of talent on his team. So I think that ship may have sailed, but
I don't know. It's possible. I definitely think it definitely isn't likely, but he does have the fact that he's been with USA Basketball on his resume, so like he has familiarity with the NBA.
He's played with all those guys. Yeah, he's coached all those guys.
He's coached all of them, but he might just it might just be that I'm a career college coach and I'm fine with that. And you look at the track record of college coaches going to the NBA, and it's not great. Like Patino failed miserably. You had Denny Crum, I think, was there. You had a few that just bottomed out completely. Brad Stevens is doing a great job, but he's one game away from getting swept out of the playoffs. So he's had a pretty good track record, and so is Billy Donovan. So I mean, he might just decide. The most recent example of a fiasco was John Beilein. John Beilein didn't even last a season.
That ended terribly. Felt bad for him.
But
he's a good coach. He's a good coach.
He's a good coach, but you know what? College, you're the man. In the pros, they're the man, and it's something you got to deal with. And it just sounds like Coach Beilein couldn't deal with it.
Yeah, I heard some pretty ugly things coming out of there about like practice and even the games, like them just not listening to him and kind of doing whatever they want. And I'm sure that was very frustrating for him, especially since he left Michigan to go there. Is Pop still available, or did he go back to the Spurs?
I think Pop might be available. I know that Brooklyn was pushing hard.
The 76ers job is open. The 76ers job is open too.
The Sixers, Brent Brown's gone. I don't know. I don't know about that team though. I got to see what Elton Brand wants to do, because Simmons and Embiid cannot play together. They just can't. You got to do something. And I don't know who you trade. Like, which one has more value? I mean, I would say probably. Ben Simmons can't really shoot, and Embiid to me is way more trouble than he's worth. He's way too damn mouthy.
It's just interesting. You kind of look at the landscape, right? If you're a general manager, whether you're the general manager of the 76ers or you're the general manager of the Indiana Pacers, the Orlando Magic. I mean, do you look at your team and really think that you can compete with the teams that are still playing right now? Like, do you look at like a team like the Raptors and say, oh yeah, we could have beat the Raptors? Or do you look at a team like the Lakers and be like, oh yeah, we could definitely take the Lakers in the NBA Finals? It's like, at what point do you say, we can't compete at that level? We need to start to move on, or we need to start to explore our options.
Right. I mean, it's a great question because at the end of the day, a lot of these teams, like the eighth seed is attainable for a lot of these guys, and are these organizations just satisfied and content with making the playoffs, especially with the lack of success that an organization like the Magic have had? Like they peaked when Shaq was in the finals, and they haven't really been good since. So it's one.
Well, they got back. Well, they got back when they got Dwight Howard. They were able to get to. They were able to get to the finals against. I think Kobe. I think they played the Lakers. And they lost 4 games to 1 or something like that.
Yeah, but Dwight Howard never turned out to be the guy that Shaq was. Like that team didn't sustain itself like the Shaq, like when Shaq was there and when Penny was there. Like I know I'm skewing old here, but like in terms of those teams, the Jameer Nelson team, they just don't. They're not remembered as fondly. They were decent, but it to me, it's a lot like that '04 Pistons team. It's just like, okay, like that was a flash and that was out of nowhere. And then they just kind of like were consistently good for a while and then they bottomed out. And
they just played really good defense.
Yeah. And I wonder if teams are just getting content with that. Like, all right, we're getting in the playoffs, we're making, extra playoff revenue from hosting a series or being, hosting some playoff games. And like, we're cool with that. I mean, there's clearly haves and have-nots in the NBA, and I hope the teams aren't resigned to the fact that they're haves and have-nots, and just keep trying to beat them. That's the best thing you can do. Like, look at Miami. You could not have told me that Miami would be in the position it was in at the beginning of the season. I wouldn't have believed you.
Yeah,
but they're there.
Yeah.
So Denver, same thing. Denver was a solid, they 4 or 5. Yeah, okay, they're on the come. They're a solid team. I wouldn't have predicted that, the money was on the Battle of LA. But you give them time, teams gel, players get better, and that's the beauty part of the NBA. Like that's the beauty part of sports. Like these guys, if they have any pride, they're getting better. They're working hard, and maybe they will. Maybe they could unseat LeBron. Maybe they could unseat the Celtics. But you just gotta keep going. Like that's why they play the game. It's
right.
not one on paper.
So switching gears a little bit, heading into the last baseball. What a season it was. Kind of underwhelming for me. I didn't really get into that as many games as I would have liked to. I really feel like it was overshadowed by the NBA playoffs. Surprised that Minnesota, the White Sox, the Cubs are all kind of struggling right now. Indians too. They're kind of heading in the wrong direction as we're ramping up for the playoffs here. I don't think the Cubs have anybody batting over 200 on their team.
Well, this is the season for mediocrity, man. Like if a mediocre team several mediocre teams are gonna be in the playoffs. I mean, that's just the nature of it.
If I had to select a mediocre team that could win this whole thing, I'd select the White Sox. I really would.
Interesting. I was thinking about the White Sox, but then I was thinking about this. Young, hot, you don't know any better. The Blue Jays could be a sleeper, a little dark horse. If they could ever get their pitching in order, they just got Nate Pearson back. So that's helpful. If Hyun-Jin Ryu actually could pitch to the level of his contract, they could be dangerous. They could be a dangerous out.
How about the Tampa Bay Rays? I mean, the Tampa Bay Rays have a shot. They won the East.
The Tampa Bay. I mean, any one of those teams in the American League East, I could definitely see. The Yankees are playing a lot better, and they're healthy. I mean, outside of the fact that Gary Sanchez is a terrible catcher, they're primed and ready to go. It's about being.
Yeah, if there was a team where I thought there was going to be like a juggernaut that would just muscle everybody out, it'd be the Yankees. Just the sheer fact that they're able to get in, even though they've played lousy down the stretch as well,
and they still don't have enough pitching. But Garrett Cole, Masahiro Tanaka, and then they're starting. Davy Garcia is going to be your number 3 starter. That's great. Great for Davy Garcia. Congratulations, kid. But you weren't. I mean, this was not supposed. This is not how you drew it up. If you're Brian Cashman, but this is what happens when you rely on James Paxton.
Jimmy.
Like Big Maple. Yeah.
Is Hap still there?
Yeah, Hap is pitching tonight. Hap is pitching tonight. He got bombed tonight. They took him out. So, I mean, he's certainly not getting his option picked up this year. And he was very pissed about how they were dealing with him. They thought, he thought that, they were messing. He was messing. The team was messing with his innings. I'm like, no, you're doing that on your own, Chief.
How about Aaron Hicks? Is he playing?
Aaron Hicks is playing, but he got hurt the day he signed that 7-year, $70 million contract. He picked up the pen and he hurt his back.
Who did the Yankees think they were competing with when they signed him to that contract? It was almost like that McCann deal. Like they signed Ryan McCann and they thought, oh, we threw him all this money and we got him. This is like, well, who the hell else wanted Ryan McCann? I think the Braves are the only real team, but it was going to be at their number.
Yeah.
That Aaron Hicks deal baffles me. It baffles me.
I mean, yeah, he's still an injury-prone player until you can prove otherwise. It's a very risky deal. Yeah, I get it's $10 million a season. You could be paying worse. You did pay worse with Jacoby Ellsbury. I mean,
and they've also bumped their chest because they got Brett Gardner. Brett Gardner can't play on any other team in Major League Baseball. Like, he's going to retire again. Your fact that nobody else wants Brett Gardner on their team.
Brett Gardner is such a douche. It's unbelievable. It hurts me to share a.
He has like a stalker too. He's like some woman that's obsessed with him.
I mean, I'm upset that I share a birthday with him, but it's ridiculous. He can never be called out on strikes. Like, it can never be a strike because his eye is so good, And
I went to a playoff game a couple of years ago, and I swore he was blind because he was swinging at pitches, and it's just like, dude, there's no way you could actually see that. You're just blindly swinging at stuff and hoping you get lucky.
He's a good defensive player. Like, he had a good run. If you're going to stay in the league, you're going to be a 4th outfielder / pinch runner, and he never steals. He stands there at first base, taking a lead, has that Superman pose, and he never runs. Bernie Williams was the same way. He was fast, but he sucked at stealing bases because he's a galloper. This guy, I don't know what his deal is because he never tries to run. That you got to the league, you got to the major leagues on your legs, pal.
I pay you to get on first, not to get out going to second.
Yeah, it's that way. It's about 90 feet. Maybe he just needs a sign, But
the Dodgers are tough. I mean, they're going to be tough to beat. But if I had to pick, say the White Sox have a reasonable shot. I feel like their pitching staff is primed to bounce back because everybody's really slumping right now, and this would be an odd year for them. I think they won back in like 2005 or something like that when they had Ozzie Guillen as their manager.
Yep, that was a great team. They played small ball. They had ridiculous pitching. Bobby Jenks,
big guy,
boy. Yeah, he emerged. But the National League still
Mark Burley,
right?
That was their guy.
Mark Burley, El Duque, such a good staff.
Right.
And they went deep.
Danks was on that team.
Yes,
too,
John
right?
Danks was on that team. Freddie Garcia was on that team. They went deep. If you weren't going 7 innings, you weren't doing your job. It's not like Maddox where it was 5 and fly. And now you can put Javi Lopez in the game. But the National League is, you you only have a few spots secure. You have the Dodgers, you have the Padres, you have the Cubs and the Braves. You still have an opportunity here for some guys, like the Marlins. I mean, you still need one more team out of the East. And I think two teams are going to make it out of the Central most likely. So the Cardinals and Reds, I think, are probably going to make it. So it's really a battle between the Marlins and the Phillies to see who gets second place in the National League East. I love the Mets, but the Mets are done.
I love the Braves. I just don't think they can. I worry they would choke, and their pitchers are all starting to get hurt now. I actually think Fried should get he should be considered for the Cy Young, but
yeah,
I don't know if he has enough. I don't know if he has enough innings.
That's the thing. He's only thrown about 56 innings. So
yeah,
his numbers are great with 56 innings, but to me,
it's a weird year. It's a weird year that they're even giving out these awards. I think LeMahieu has a chance of getting the batting title. I mean, that would mean that he would have a batting title from National League and from the American League if he actually wins it.
Yeah, I mean, and they were concerned that he wouldn't be able to hit outside of Colorado. No. Breaking news, guys. DJ LeMahieu's good, but
he was.
I was looking at a statistical breakdown of all of the best pitchers in the National League, and I was listening to an interesting point today from Tony Kornheiser and Michael Wilbon, and they were talking about how this year you kind of have to take into account your competition and strength of schedule more than anybody else. Because Darvish is pitching great, but the Brewers stink. The Pirates are god-awful. And then the Cardinals and Reds are Same thing with Trevor Bauer. Trevor Bauer, he's pitching great, but he's also got the Pirates a couple times. He's got the Brewers a couple times. So, I mean, by process of elimination, and when you take into account that Max Fried has only thrown 56 innings, I mean, you start scratching people off the list, and congratulations to Jacob deGrom. You won your third straight Cy Young. I mean, you just
deGrom should. I mean, deGrom's awesome. I mean, so I wouldn't be upset.
I definitely wouldn't be mad at it. I mean, I'd love to boast that the Mets have the best pitcher in baseball, but 2 through 12, 2 through 13, that's the problem.
Yeah. Well, we're coming to an end to our show, so I think we should do our picks.
Definitely. Last week was a pretty good week. Won 13 of the matchups last week, so it was a pretty good one.
Whoa, 13. Look at you, stud.
I guarantee you, if there was money on them, I would have lost.
I don't recall how well I did. I know I had a couple of good ones, but the upset that I really wanted was the Washington team over the Cardinals, and I didn't get that one.
Well, I mean, they're playing the Browns this week, and you're going to get your wish because the Washington football team is going to beat the Cleveland Browns.
Beat their heads in.
It's like Reservoir Dogs, Mr. Brown, more like Mr. Shit.
Wait, I'm looking back. I actually did do pretty good. It looks like I only lost one game.
Okay, there we go.
I lost that game. I lost the Washington game.
Guys, take these to the bank.
I got every other one.
That we don't have money on the line, but you can take them to the bank.
I crushed it.
There we go.
All right, so let's get it started. Okay, so I've got the Falcons over the Bears. What do you got?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm gonna stick with the Bears.
I just think the Falcons get their first win. There's no way they start off.
You hope.
Okay, now
you hope.
What?
Not.
Go ahead.
You hope not, but
yeah, I hope not for Dan Quinn. I actually like him. I like him as a person, and I like him as a coach.
Yeah.
I hope he's able to keep his job.
Julio's dinged up though. So
Julio, yeah, I don't think Julio's gonna play.
But fingers crossed.
I think he's gonna play. Rams versus Bills. Who you got?
I'm taking the Rams. I think that high octane offense.
So
yeah.
I got Browns over Washington. That was a tough
I'm taking Washington. So there we go. We're at odds on that one.
Who you got? Titans versus Vikings.
The Vikings stink. I'm going with the Titans.
They're bad. Kirk Cousins is bad. That's looking like the worst contract signing ever.
I don't like that. That was awful. And his performance last week was absolutely terrible. And the Titans defense is good. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, I think the Titans are going to go to work. I think
For
they're going to go to work. So I'm taking the Titans. Okay, I got Patriots over the Raiders.
This one's a tough one for me. I like what they're doing in New England. I really think they're in the right direction. But Carr is playing great. Josh Jacobs is running the rock. I'm going to take the Raiders.
Okay. I felt bad for Cam last week. I really thought if he almost went into Washington and beat Russell Wilson. I was so surprised that it got down to that last play. And he's clearly a man on a mission this year. So I don't know if the Pats are going to re-sign him or he's going to find himself playing in Chicago. But if he could just stay healthy this season, he's going to make somebody very happy next year.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a make or break year for him just to get on the field and stay on the field. If he can prove that, he's going to make bank.
Okay, the next one I have is I actually have the 49ers beating the Giants with Nick Mullins as their quarterback.
They lost 5 guys, man. Are you kidding? You're telling me the Giants can't beat? Oh my God.
I don't think Joe Judge gets it done this weekend.
Oh my God. All right. Well, I'm taking the Giants. They lost 5 key players. They had to fly back to California. They have to fly back to New York / New Jersey. The Giants are winning this game. They just I can't take it. I'm sorry. They need to. They can't lose this game for me.
I got the Eagles winning their first game over the Bengals.
I got Joe Burrow taking this thing. He's going to light up a cigar after the game. He's taking the win. And Carson Wentz is done.
Yeah, that's going to be bad. Jalen Hurts comes in the second
Maybe
quarter.
Nick Foles gets traded there next week. Bart Scott floated that out there. I could see it. I can see it.
I got the Steelers easily walking over the Texans.
It's not even fair. It really isn't.
Yeah.
Steelers are taking that one.
I got the Colts beating the Jets, and I bet they cover. It's 11.5.
So, wait, question. Who was the backup quarterback for the Jets? I'm just asking a question.
Oh, geez. I don't even know. It's a good question. Who is it?
I have no idea, but he's going to be playing in the third quarter of that game. Colts are going to blow them out.
It's Falk?
Oh, it might not be Luke Falk. I'd be traumatized if I were Luke Falk. I would have retired. They beat his ass.
Joe Flacco. It's Joe Flacco.
But he's active?
He's hurt.
He's hurt, though.
I don't know.
Oh, God. Poor Joe. Poor Joe. I knew he was on the
yeah, I don't know. That should be really interesting.
Okay, over on does he get fired?
Versus...
Does Case get fired after the game?
I'm not going out there. Are you insane? Panthers versus Chargers.
I like what the Panthers are doing, but Herbert impressed me last week. I'm going to take the Chargers.
I'm going to take the Panthers. That they've been playing well. They could play better defensively, but they're scoring. They're playing well. I have the Bucks over Denver. I think Tom goes into Denver and wins, which is not an easy place for him to play.
But he is playing against Jeff Driscoll / Blake Bortles. So
yes,
that is definitely an advantage for Tom Brady, and they could just run the ball all day, and Tom Brady will be fine. He take the Bucks.
Okay, we got the Cardinals versus the Lions. Who do you got?
Taking the Cardinals. My pick on the Lions looks freaking awful, and I regret making it.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take the Cardinals in this.
They look pathetic. The Lions look pathetic.
I got the Seahawks over the boys.
Yeah, Seahawks definitely are beating the Cowboys. last week, the fourth quarter comeback was an aberration. That you pick up the onside kick and it's not even it's over. So
They basically just look like the Green Bay Packers. It's what they look like right now, and that didn't work in Green Bay, so it's not going to work in Dallas.
Seahawks are going to steamroll.
I got the Packers over the Saints. Drew Brees' throwing is looking worse and worse every week. He feels borderline great. I think he's talking about whatever he had for dinner and not really how he feels as a football player.
Yeah, Brees looks old. He looks old in a hurry. Yeah. And I'm not saying the Packers defense is going to make him make mistakes, but I can definitely see a shootout. Rodgers is Rodgers is a man on a mission. He's got something to prove to Matt LaFleur, saying, "What the hell are you doing taking Jordan Love? This is still my team." Packers by 10.
Packers roll.
Monday night game.
And in the game of the week, I've got the Ravens beating the Chiefs.
Oh man. For me, this is such a tough game because you have a great offense against a great defense and a very good offense on the Ravens and a decent defense with Kansas City. So I could see multiple scenarios where it's either a huge shootout or it's a defensive struggle. I really can see both sides.
I think the Chiefs passing game has looked pedestrian the last few weeks. They really should have took apart the Chargers, and it took all 4 quarters and then some to beat them. They had to go into overtime there. And the Ravens, I think the Ravens just going to light it up. I'm not really afraid of that defense. I think they're gonna play really well.
I mean, that being said, I'm going to take the Ravens as well, but it's definitely going to be the game of the week. I mean,
must-see TV. Must-see TV.
Goodness. I mean, there's really nothing else on this schedule. I mean, except for the Raiders and Patriots. That's probably the only what's be like a close second to game of the week,
That's going to be a good game, too. Because John Gruden has them playing real well.
Clearly, Gruden.
They did come. They looked like they were going to get blown out by the Saints in the first quarter of the game, and they came back and they shut the Saints down. I don't even think the Saints scored after the first half.
I'm happiest for Derek Carr. I've been a big Derek Carr fan for years. I think he has been really maligned for no reason. He got hurt. Like, you're going to fault the guy because he hurt his back, and that's not cool. And he's got a team around
missing some throws.
He's got a line that he's gonna have a good season.
He's missing throws. And Ruggs is really good. He's missing throws. That last week was the first time I saw them play this season. He's got to feel more confident in letting it rip. He's got to let it go because people are running wide open.
Well, that comes with time. That comes with camp. That comes with reps, and it's only week 3 and no preseason. I'm treating these 3 weeks as preseason games if I'm a coach, and I'm just going to let it rip. Like, same thing with Andy Reid. He's got that Waffle House menu. He's just going to this is, he's going to call super conservative, and then he's just going to light it up like he did in the Super Bowl. Like, that's just what Andy Reid does at this point. It's like lull you into that false sense of security, and then bam, bam, bam. You don't know what hit you. Bam, 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 bam.
Well, this has been the Fade Route with D and Z. Catch our podcast on Friday nights, where we just like talking about sports, football, baseball, basketball, whatever comes to our
Thanks
our
for
heads.
getting
good talking to you.
Likewise, man. If you want to get faded with us, email us at faderoutemail@gmail.com with your questions, comments, picks, whatever you want to do. And who knows? It could end up on the show. Thanks for getting faded with us, and we'll see you next week. Take it easy, guys. Thanks for listening to this episode of our podcast. If you like what you heard and want to hear more, be sure to like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Rate us 5 stars, leave us a review, turn on subscription notifications, and tell your friends. Spread the word, spread it wide.